We're
We made it.
we're on the mend. Serena specifically. This past week, Serena had some mouth surgery, so um, she can't talk as loud and as enthusiastically as she normally can. She's still on the mend.
Yeah, I
Um,
have to talk quietly.
which means I have to talk quietly.
Yeah, we were supposed to make a sign that says talk quietly.
uh, but that that mouth surgery, it went better
Yeah, when
than we were expecting. 'Cause she had something similar done before, and there was more of a healing process for it the other time than there's going to be this time, which is awesome. But Serena was kind of out of commission a little bit.
yeah. Yeah,
Just,
we were very very busy
yeah,
getting ready for it. There was a bunch of stuff that we were doing in anticipation. It just seems like we have a bunch of these timelines that we were coming up against. It's nothing like it's just I have gum issues, so we booked. It wasn't like you know it wasn't emergency surgery. It was planned
yeah, for
surgery. Yeah.
downtime in the winter. But it sneaks up on you because we have so many other things in the mix as well, and it kind of made us put out that last video without.
Yeah. The timeline that we were coming up against was me being on drugs for for the surgery. So we wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Just because, when you're taking some stuff to help with pain, you don't always make good decisions. So we wanted to get that video out before the gum surgery happened. And so we released it without having all that. Like we normally would have put more work into the video, but lots of people had been asking me specifically for the list, because people are shopping right now, or everyone's trying to figure out what they want to grow for next year. So I just wanted to get the video out, but yeah. So we have a second a second video, a sister video to that, of the 10 worst flowers of 2022, but those we will definitely.
Yeah, we'll add the B-roll and stuff.
Yeah.
We just, we also had house renovations going on, and there was what else was going on this week? There's
Lots of stuff.
our big video, like our documentary, was due today, so there was other deadline stuff, and we've just been.
Okay, but the thing that this video can't go on forever, and the thing that we really want to do in this live video is, the plan was to make a vlog all about selling at the big Christmas craft fair that we did, not this weekend but the weekend before. And we were too busy. So we didn't end up making a vlog, but we learned.
Whoa.
Oh, thank you so much, Black Dog.
Black Dog.
Happy holidays. They're always very distracting when you do that, because it's like, whoa, you're so generous. No. Okay.
Oh, so no, we did a 3-day.
Yeah, okay. So we were too busy to make a vlog about it, but partially because we were so busy building up to it. But we learned so much that we want to do a live video. We want to do a video kind of talking about that market and everything, in a focused way, because this is something that I know other flower farmers, other business people are kind of looking for, which is what do you do in the off season, right? And
the answer is there is no off season.
Well, yeah, when you're a flower farmer, there is no off season. But this fair was our attempt to try to figure out, what do we do in the down season. And so first we need backstory. Very. We need someone to throw up the backstory emoji for us because so. And Ian's probably laughing because I always do backstories. But this backstory is especially important because before there, thank you, Jennifer. Before there was a farm, before we did what we're doing now, the plan was to find a business that was selling something at Christmas craft fairs. And it came out of the fact that I would go to this specific Christmas craft fair that we were selling at last weekend, or I don't know what.
You went to Christmas.
No, I know, but
fairs.
like it wasn't last weekend. It was like a week and a half ago. Anyways, so I go to this specific craft fair, and I would note it cost money. Sorry, guys.
Oh, look what I caught.
It cost money.
Look
To
at
get
what
in-
I caught.
Crazy cat.
A grumpy fur baby.
I know. We've been setting up the Christmas trees. They're all crazy. Okay, so I would go to this craft fair. It's a Christmas craft fair. It costs money to get into this craft fair. And the one thing that always surprised me every time I went to it was people were walking around with no bags in their hands. People had paid money to go to this big craft fair and check out all these vendors and crafters. But they weren't shopping, they weren't spending money. And as I'd walk around the craft fair trying to figure out why, like what's going on, this is my favorite game, trying to figure out how businesses work. I realized that for me, also there at this craft fair, bad cats, there wasn't anything that was a good Christmas gift item. Like the one thing that you kind of always need for Christmas is that the item to buy for the person that you don't know what to get, right? Like, what do you buy your mother-in-law? What do you buy your coworker for the Secret Santa?
I know. Christmas ornaments.
Anyway, so we'd go to these craft fairs and people weren't spending money, and people also didn't seem to have the thing that convinced people to spend money. The one thing that we would see people kind of dropping, the busiest stands were like soap, like handmade soaps. People would be buying like that kind of thing as like a Christmas gift. At this last fair that we went to, like canned food items, that kind of stuff. Those were kind of the only things that were really selling. And then every once in a while, people would be picking up stuff for themselves, not as gifts. So we decided we needed to figure out a business idea that was going to be like a perfect gift idea. And so we came up with this idea of making mittens. And then we were going to spend all summer manufacturing mittens.
Mountain mittens.
Or modern mittens.
Modern mittens. But it had a mountain symbol.
Yeah, so we came up with this idea. I'd spend the summer sewing mittens, and then I'd spend the winter at craft fairs selling mittens. But then we bought a farm, so we didn't do that. But
we still had all the cutouts for all those mittens.
Yeah, one of these days I'll sew and donate 1 million pairs of mittens to someone because I have cutout mittens. But all the thought that we put into trying to figure out craft fairs is still at the top of the mind, right? We're still trying to figure out what it is that we could do for a craft fair that would go well with the farm, or if that's even worth doing in the first place. So this is the craft fair that we went to a week and a half ago, is the biggest craft fair in town. It's like in our arena, it's massive. It costs $600
as a fee.
As a fee to
it's only $500 to get in as a customer.
It was $7 to get
well,
in
that's
as
Canadian
a customer.
dollars. That's $7.
It cost $7 because people were like, oh, it actually costs a lot of money to get in. But yeah, so vendor fee was $600. It's 3 days. It was Friday evening, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And yeah, it's like the big one. and it's juried. It's hard to get into. We tried to get into it last year and we didn't get accepted, but we got in this year. And so the plan going into it was to try to sell $6,000. And Ian was like a non-believer, but he didn't know why the plan was to sell $6,000. The reason why the plan was to sell... No, there's a lot. We already discussed this. The reason why we plan to sell $6,000 is because they say for big craft fairs like this that you can anticipate to sell 10 times your vendor fee, right? So if I spent $600 as a vendor fee, I should be able to sell $6,000 worth of product in order to, make the math work out well. And if any fair should make it so that I could sell that, it would be this one. Because what did the email say? What were the numbers?
There's like 10,000
10,000 people went through?
But definitely not everybody sold $6,000 that was there as a vendor.
No.
And spoiler alert,
we didn't sell.
We didn't sell. We didn't sell $6,000.
No.
But we did really good. We sold like $3,000.
Yeah.
And I consider that a win because I was thinking worst case scenario, 1,500 to 2,000 is what I was thinking. Would be like it'd be like, I'm kind of bummed. I'm kind of bummed about that amount. But 3,000, that's paying the bill, paying for us to like go and do it. And I think we learned a lot that we'll be able to use in the future to go back and make $6,000. I don't think $6,000 is impossible.
Totally doable.
It's just the Christmas ornaments
do it right.
sold.
Well, we haven't gotten. You're getting ahead.
Okay. I actually have to go check on the rice because I got some. I'll be right back.
Yes, there we go. Nicole's saying she did a local craft fair that was $40 and sold almost. Oh, sorry. It sold almost 500, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so the numbers, like, I know I'm saying I spent $600. I wanted to make $6,000. The break even number, so when I included in cost of selling the fee and then like $100 or $200 to cover my time being spent down at the fair, which is like in total I was selling for 20 hours and then there was like setup and takedown. So, there's definitely, it was a solid, 30-hour weekend. So, even if I said I'm paying myself $5 an hour, that's like $150 for $5 an hour. So I said cost was $1,000. Anything past $1,000 was actual like profit being made somewhat. And so doing the 3,000, I'm fairly happy with. So the reason why we wanted to do this, right? It's like a bit of a risk to go and do the biggest craft fair that we could possibly do. And so the reason why we wanted to do it is we wanted to know what we could do with the dried flowers. Because going to the absolute biggest craft fair of all would give us the 10,000 people coming through. It would give us the best chance of selling, right? So, because sometimes it can be hard to get accurate numbers, right? We could go down to the farmer's market 10 times for 1,000 people and get the same amount of information as we got going to just like the one big one. And they're a different type of event, right? So we wanted to do the really big one because it would be a way of quickly getting a lot of data to apply to our plans for next year. And yeah, we learned a ton. So what the plan going in, I'm trying to be like focused because I know I basically spent like 40 hours telling Ian, I spent like 20 hours at the craft fair, like thinking about it as I was selling. And then, then I'd like talk Ian's ear off for like a million hours with the master plan. But yeah, so the plan going in was the dried flowers had been selling pretty good, but dried flowers are 100% not a Christmas gift item, right? As I said, the one thing that I've noticed about all these Christmas craft fairs is that people aren't there to buy things for themselves. People are there to buy Christmas gifts, and no one has Christmas gift items. So I knew dried flowers were going to be a bad item for a Christmas craft fair. So what we went as like anticipating to be our main seller is our Christmas ornaments, right? And we made these last year. We did I think we have a video up all about how we made them. I think. I'm trying. It's been a while. We did because we did a handful of videos. So I made $4,000 worth of Christmas ornaments. The price that we are selling these at is $10 each, or four for 30. The idea was that four would be like a gift set. I was kind of hoping to hit the $30 price mark. But I noticed that a lot of people weren't spending $30 as gifts. People were either buying like a single, or people would come and they'd buy a set of the four, and they were saying
cuddly
that
cat here.
they were keeping two for themselves and two as a gift. But we'd kind of run out of time. The goal was that we were going to actually I was going to buy like a bakery box. I was going to buy one of those like white boxes with like the cellophane windows, and then I was going to pack them in as a 4 set, so they already would be kind of gift packed. And we are going to do that in the future, and I imagine that would bring up our average sale. But yeah, so I made Ian go get a collection to show you guys. So it's hard to tell what the colors are, but so there's this one. I think that this was, what is this, pink? I can't remember. This might be cottage. I named them in my head as I made them. So I have a mix that's like a pastel mix. And so what the balls are is I have a light on to make the light a bit better, but it's kind of glaring. They're straw flowers, and they're little bits of status. I'd spent the entire year finding straw flowers that were small enough that they'd fit in this tiny opening. It took a lot of straw flowers to get straw flowers small enough. Then we did like a rainbow mix. This one is like all the brights, a lot of the yellow. On our first day of the craft fair, people had said that they really wanted to get a white. I didn't have a white. I had this kind of like more antique-y toned. So Friday night, I went home and I stayed up till 2. I spent 4 hours stuffing white bulbs. I made a white design. And these have some of the amobium, I think they're called. And then the white status, and then a few. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
You're number 1. I love the little sticker animations. Yeah, so the white was quite popular.
Oh, it's so cuddly.
And I really like the look of it. And it was nice with having some of those smaller whites, because it's hard to find stuff that's small enough to fit in these balls. And then I also did a pink. I had people like being like, oh, I wish there was a pink one, at the same time that they said white. So I went through, I had a little bit of pink status. The hard thing with the status is I have a pink that's kind of like a rose when it dries, and then I have an apricot. And so there's nothing pink, but when I paired it up with the pink straw flowers, I feel like they did pretty good.
It comes across as pink too.
Yeah, totally. And they looked pink in comparison. And then the best seller of all was, I named this one Midnight. And this was like my purple set. So I put the darkest of the pink. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get through this. We'll do questions at the end, but I can't keep focused and watch the chat. Yeah, so I did like some of the more burgundies, and this color, this purpley toned one, this was the best seller out of all of them. This one outsold by, I'd say this sold 150% compared to everything else, whereas all the other colors were pretty even. Even though people were asking for the white, when I came with the white, they
still prefer the purple.
Yeah, they still prefer.
I mean
they sold midnight. Another design. So last year, I have these round balls. The reason why I have these round balls is that Um, early, so I got these from Michael's, and
which is a craft store in Canada. I don't know if
I
it's
think
in America too.
I think it might be in America.
Is Michael's in
too.
America?
I don't know,
Like
but
Hobby
it's
Lobby?
it's like a big craft store, and so I bought these last year, which were what I originally worked with. These were my original designs, and so I like the shape of these because they're flat, right? They're kind of this like oval shape, but because they're like that, the things they sit very upright, right? I can get these long. These are fussy to pack, but once they're inside, they sit in a different way. They kind of, you don't have to put as many flowers in, and it's like it's a very sophisticated look, I feel.
Yeah, you can build up a little bit of a, like a little
like a
shape,
or like a scene.
Yeah.
Right? Like this and the green, right? Whereas this, it's just like a ball of
Just
flowers.
cram it full.
And this, like you kind of shake it and it changes. Whereas this,
You don't work it up.
it is, well, you could, but it is what it is. So this is what we had last year, and so early in the year, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, there's like a sale on at Michael's, all the empty Christmas ornaments, like beginning of November. It was like super early." She's like, "Oh, they're on sale. They're on like a really good. They were on 50% off." And these, like, if you don't get them discounted,
they're ridiculously
they're
expensive.
stupid expensive. So at 50% off, I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I should stock up," because I had some of these ones still that I bought at the end of the year, but I was like, "Oh, I need even more if I'm gonna sell $6,000 at the craft fair." And so I put in an order. How many did I order? Like 30 or 40 cases, and they come with 25 in a pack. So like I ordered like maybe 400. I don't know. I ordered 600. I ordered a lot.
I went and picked them up with the kids.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get out into the park.
I did like a pre-order of them just to like get them to pack it. But anyways, when Ian came back with them, I'd purchased this instead of this. I'd messed up in ordering, which was fine because I still had some of this. And like in hindsight, I'm really glad that happened because it's, as I heard some of you guys just say in the chat, some of you guys like this, some of you guys like this. I wouldn't be able to offer this and this if I hadn't messed up, if I'd only bought in the one. So, and I like it. It made me, being forced to work with this shape forced me to think about the ornaments in a different way. And so, I'm glad that I did that. But yeah, so that's where I get them from. That is the designs. I know I'm getting. I told Ian, I'm like, I'm not on the drugs anymore, but it's hard to stay focused.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. This is like I've literally been rethinking what we're gonna do on the farm next year. Like the farm plan has changed because of this craft fair.
Yeah, we're not going to go as hard on certain aspects of the dried flowers. The dried flower bouquets, the ones that don't sell, we're still going to dry those. We're going to...
They look really good with the light.
Yeah, we're going to grow some specific things like larkspur and straw flowers for drying in straight bunches.
Okay, well, no, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Right? Because so we went, because I was explaining the ornaments, because we went to we brought the ornaments to be the gift idea, right? But if you guys saw the thumbnail, I don't really have very many. Yeah. We didn't take very many pictures, but the thumbnail was kind of some of the best pictures that I had, but they're all vertical because I took them for Instagram. But here, so I'm gonna cover my face. So this is our display. So our booth was, and I'm trying to get it without the glare. So our booth was actually an 8x10 space. And it this was all dried flowers, and then this was a single table along the side, and I kind of stood in the middle. And so this was like I don't know, I forget how big our tables are, like 6x2. And so on that table was all the ornaments. And then the rest, like here's another picture of the table. Right? So the table was just our steamer trays that we used to display the vegetables, filled in. And I know, guys, I'm sorry, like these pictures are not great, but yeah, so they were just filled in with like a pile of the balls, and then I had like a little simple display. But if when people walked past our setup, it was just like walls of dried flowers. And I did these. I made these really decadent $100, right? Like these up here, these were $100 dried flower arrangements. I made them as big as I physically could. I stuffed as many dried flower stems into my hand as I possibly could fit, and then I called it $100 because it definitely had like over 100 stems, and they were really beautiful. I sold one to a bride, and like people all stopped and looked at them. But so for actual numbers of what we were selling, so most of my display was dried flowers. Most of my display was the $20 dried flower bouquets, this kind of like wall of the $100 ones up high with the stems all like like something to draw the eye in. We brought down our metal rolling racks to use as our display because we wanted something really vertical. We wanted people to be able to stand back from our booth and be drawn in by the flowers. We wanted it to be like, whoa, dried flower heaven. But the so we sold $3,000. I probably sold $600 in dried flower bouquets, which included one of the $100 ones. And then the rest of the money came from the ornaments. It was like all day people just looking at the ornaments. People, often I'd have, 3 people kind of digging through the different ornament trays, everyone just kind of standing around that one single table. And then every hour there was 20 hours selling in total, and then it was like kind of like once an hour, once every half an hour, someone.
Shadow drop by?
Oh, okay.
So I can go get them some ornaments?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we had this huge display. We had this huge thing going on, but the money maker was the Christmas gift item of the ornaments, which is kind of what we'd expected. And then the other thing, like, because this was a question kind of very on, which is like, how do you handle like dried flowers? They're so brittle, and that was like one of the things that like I really like about the ornaments. So these are a plastic ornament, which is important at my house because I'm full of cats, and the cats spent like the entire time I made these trying to break them. And like I want something that would be really good for shipping. So for me, I really want to do the plastic ornaments so I don't have to be worried about breaking and shipping. I want something that's just really easy for me to handle. But once you put the dried flowers inside that ball, they're completely protected. But dragging around, like bringing a truck load of dried flowers down to the fair and setting them up, and we have experience with this because we have a couple buckets of dried flower bouquets that we always bring down to the market. Ian always has 2 or 3 Rubbermaid bins of dried flowers that he does to back face our fresh flowers down at the farmer's market. And as the fresh flowers sell, he keeps pushing forward the dried flowers to keep our display really full and really lush and really beautiful. So we do have experience with them, but they're brittle. They make a mess. Like one of the things that I packed for our setup was I packed a vacuum because I knew that setting up our stand, I was going to make a mess of the entire arena, putting all these like dried flowers out. It's one thing at the farmer's market to have petals dropped all over the place, but it's another thing when I'm building the stand and I'm literally standing in a pile of like dried flower crumbs. It doesn't it makes the dried flowers a little bit less appealing. So having gone to the craft fair, having tested, just what dried flowers can do. And then the other thing, I did the selling at this fair, right? Because a lot of the selling that gets done at this point with the business is by Ian. And I do track what sells in the fact that I create the inventory and I send it down and then I see what comes back. So um, I do kind of realize like what is selling down at the fairs, but I don't necessarily get that customer interaction, right? I wouldn't have if Ian was the one selling at the craft fair, I wouldn't have been making white ornaments on Friday night because I wouldn't have known that people were asking about white ornaments. Ian and I, we just like have different ways of thinking, different ways of picking things up. And like Ian is an amazing salesperson. He does a really good job of selling. But the information that I get secondhand from him it's filtered through like his opinions and everything. And so to get like, a non-filtered Ian opinion, it's really helpful for me to be able to go directly and hear what the customers say, as well as, what Ian brings back as what the customers have to say. So it like it, incredible information that I got from, talking to 10,000 people at this craft fair. And the other thing that I was doing at the craft fair is I was watching what everyone else was doing. Okay, so some other details about this craft fair. There was someone else who was selling dried flowers, which I told Dean, I was like, I'm 100% sure we're going to be the only dried flower person at this craft fair. And we weren't, which blew my mind. We were the only person who was like a farm. The other person was someone who was, selling the pampas grasses and the dyed, like they were selling flowers that they had like imported in. Whereas, my pitch, my spiel was like, oh, we have a flower farm out in Lake Country. Maybe you've seen us down at the Kelowna Farmers Market. I've been saving these all year. I was trying to focus on, oh, grown in the Okanagan. There also was a lavender farm who was there. And so I saw people going around with bunches of lavender. People were coming up and asking me if I was the person who had lavender. I see you guys talking about the resin. There was a couple jewelry makers who did flowers in resin. I had like a few vendors coming interested in being able to source wholesale dried flowers from me. I had a few like food people who were looking for, wholesale sources of flowers. I networked with some like florists who were like, oh wow, like, so there was other people. I think that there was someone there who did pressed flowers, even like it wasn't like their whole stand was pressed flowers, but I saw some people who had pressed flower type stuff. Yeah, and so like there was some ideas, and there also was a few people whose stands were only Christmas ornaments. But I would say the look of their stands was a little underwhelming. I feel like they could have done things like they didn't come across as very boutique-y. They came across as like someone who like likes making Christmas ornaments.
I just sold 15 Christmas ornaments.
Did they're just gone?
Yeah.
I didn't think. My friend was coming by to get some. You did it for the deal, right?
I think that was who was texting you earlier.
Oh, okay.
I told her that she can figure out the price with you.
Okay.
She said
yeah,
she's going
that's
to do the
perfect.
transfer.
Yeah. Okay.
Friends aren't allowed the full price.
Yeah. Yeah, for a friend of mine, that's funny because she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come by at some point," but like this is the only time that we like ever do anything, and it's always funny. It's like,
Well, that was who was texting at the start, I think.
oh, okay.
Because she said she was texting you, and then they were like, "Oh, you can always drop by." They just heard it's kind of funny because we don't really have like the house is so big and there's so many rooms that you could come from it from a bunch of different doors and you wouldn't necessarily know somebody's coming. And so people sometimes just tap on our windows. They're like, hello, hello, we're here.
I mean, our friends know to just walk in. They know we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
I think,
yeah.
Okay, Sam. Yeah, that's fine.
Are these yours? Oh,
Yeah, you can take it now because I showed the pictures. Yeah, so so having spent the time watching, so close to me was a soap stand. And I'm all like, so I've sold at Christmas craft fairs before because I used to have
Baby stuff.
I used to have baby stuff, and I sold it at craft fairs, and I was always really, really interested in soap stands at craft fairs.
Because you've made soap too.
Yeah, like so I make soap, but the reason why I'm interested in soap stands at craft fairs is at Christmas craft fairs there will be like 100 people in a room, and 50 of them will be buying soap. It'll be like the only busy person is the soap person. It'll be like everyone else is sitting there twiddling their thumbs, and then the soap person is like selling to like 4 or 5 people all at the same time. And there's always a million of them. Every craft fair has like 5 soap people. And where I was standing at my craft fair, there I could see 4, because it was like massive. There was probably like 20 soap people, but I could see 4. Only one of them was busy. Everyone else was set up as kind of like a beauty bar boutique. And the guy who was busy had a wall of soap. He had like, I don't know, 16 different styles of soap, like just packed. He had like the box, and it was like 25 of the exact same soap, 16 of these crates. He had this display, and it was just a wall of soaps, and everyone would come up and they'd smell them all. And he would just stand there and he'd be packing bags for everyone. And everyone was wanting like bar soap. And it was naked bar soap. It wasn't packaged, it wasn't wrapped. And then he had bits and pieces along like the side. But the main display was just bar soap. And so the one thing, right? Because I'm standing there like thinking about how everyone else's business works, because this is how my brain works. And I'm like, so he's selling his bar soap. These people are coming, they're buying like $20 worth of bar soap, right? So he's selling a lot of soap. People aren't only buying like 1 bar, people are like buying a bag. They're doing his like, 4 for $20 deal. Like, they're $6 or 4 for $20 or whatever, let's say. Everyone's packing a bag. And then there's the other more like boutique bar type places. I don't necessarily know that his business is making more in total than the other businesses, because the beauty bar businesses could be having a facial oil that's $60, and maybe they have like a customer who comes up and does $100 sale for every 5 $20 sales that the wall of soap guy is doing. But the wall of soap guy is definitely like moving product. He's selling like stuff, and he's like hitting into that like Christmas target audience. And the reason why I think he was doing that is that he had the wall of soap. It was like set up to draw people in. It was doing the farmers market, pilot high, watch and fly. And so what I think we need to do, so we were at the craft fair, we had 4 steamer trays, after I'd kept adding new styles in from feedback of people, we got to the point that I think there was like 7 different designs of Christmas ornaments. But I'm like, what we really need is 12 designs of Christmas ornaments. And we need our entire display to be just a wall of these Christmas ornaments in the way that the soap guy is. And we want it to be like, oh, there's like a pile, there's a mountain of yellow, and there's a mountain of pink, and there's a mountain of white. And people are going to come up and they're going to like dig through them. They're going to do the 4 for 30 deal, and they're going to like quickly move through it. Having kind of this wall hopefully can bring up our average sale. Maybe having them pre-gift boxed so that people could just grab them and go is going to speed up how we're going to be able to sell it. Because, so the one, like, on the first day, because I knew I wanted to sell $6,000. So on the first day, I like counted the hours as I was standing there because it was super slow on the Friday. And I realized I had 20 hours of selling time. And so if I wanted to do $6,000, I needed to sell $300 an hour. And when I came back home on Friday night and told Ian that, he was like, there's no world. Like, how would you sell $300 an hour? He's like, that's so much to sell, right? So the business needs to answer the question of, how can I sell $300 an hour? How can I sell $500 an hour if these are the type of numbers that I want to do? And the answer is that I need to quickly move customers through the display, and I also need them to be increasing their average sale, right? So that's the plan. The plan is that the dried bouquets aren't where the business is. The dried bouquets make a lot of sense for what we've been doing with them at the farmers market throughout the season. And the dried flowers make sense in the fact that we can convert them into this Christmas ornament item. But the one thing that I spent a lot of time thinking about as I was doing the craft fair is, like, because I have this wall of dried flowers behind me, and I was like, how am I going to take these home? And in our house at this point, we have an entire room. We have like a bedroom filled with dried flowers. We have so many dried flowers. And when we sell the dried flowers, we mostly sell them as the arrangements, and so it takes time to process them. And I see like someone here saying wreaths, and so the reason why I'm not interested in doing wreaths is because they don't make any money. A Christmas wreath, not a Christmas wreath, a dried flower wreath takes, so the $20 dried flower bunches that I have, if I was to form too many words. Okay. If I was to form my $20 bouquets onto a wreath, and this would be like, we're not talking like a massive wreath, we're talking just like a normal size wreath, it would take at least 12 of my $20 bouquets to fill a wreath form. And the work that it would take to wire those $20 bouquets on to that wreath form, it would be like a half an hour. It's not like they just like magically get stuck on there. So in actual product, we'd be talking that I'm using like $240 worth of flowers. I'm then putting, all this like, difficult labor in to make these wreaths. And then, then what do I do with it? Who wants to buy a $300 wreath, right? And why would I try to sell a $300 wreath when I can go anywhere and throughout town? Because the wreaths, lots of people make them and they sell them for like $40, right? So I know that I could try to cultivate a high-end customer, but even when I see people doing this online, even when I see people being like, I priced it out per stem, I did this, I did that, they're still not selling their stuff for what it's actually worth, right? When people make these massive wreaths, they're always underselling themselves when they turn them into wreaths. And they're a lot of work, and they're beautiful, and they're fun to make. But, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. I need to be, at this point in the farm, I need to be making like the smartest decisions that I can. And for me, it's pretty obvious, even from the beginning, that dried flower wreaths isn't a smart decision. I do think that there's a lot of potential for the like those larger $100 arrangements. Like that would be a customer that I try to target, right? Instead of trying to target someone who's going to buy a $400 wreath, I'd rather just target people who'd buy $100 dried arrangement. You know, I could do a Valentine's Day where I sell these $100 decadent dried flower arrangements. Or you know, we stick with the our fresh to dry designed dried flower arrangements were our best selling ones, even at this fair. All the fresh to dried ones that had left were the fastest to sell. Um, you know, at this point, I can see like what sells really well. And then the other trend that is happening when it comes to dried flowers that I'm seeing is that they're really popular for weddings. So I don't necessarily have to be I don't have to take my dried flowers and turn them into a wreath. I can just sell them to florists who are getting wedding clients who want dried flower wedding arrangements, and I can sell them for a good price without having to do the work and undercutting myself. um, so so and like I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff here, but the idea that I'm coming back to is the dry flowers are amazing. The reason why we like started into the dried flowers and we're excited about the dried flowers is because they are a shelf stable product, right? And when you're doing flowers are definitely not a shelf stable product. They have like a day or two like shelf life before at that point you need to, you know, give them away or you need to compost them. And what we had been doing all these years is that we have been drying when it's obvious to us that we have too much of something, rather than, you know, composting it, we've been drying them and then we've been selling them, and we've been doing it successfully. But this year we, you know, and that worked great when we were doing, you know, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square feet worth of flowers. But this year having, you know, like, I don't know, what do we have, like 20,000 square feet of flowers, the volume of dried flowers that we have has just grown exponentially. And we still have dried flowers left over from last year because we had all the labor that made it so we did a really good job of preserving the dried flowers. And they're great, right? When you put dried flowers away into storage properly, we're dry here, we don't have to worry about humidity, they keep. It's only when they kind of get out and get displayed that they start to fade and degrade. So all the dried flowers we have from last year are still good, but they don't do anything for me if I don't do anything with them. And if I keep drying dried flowers and then just kind of sitting on them because I haven't found this way to move a mass volume of dried flowers, when I'm drying a mass volume of dried flowers, then they actually start to cost me money, not save me money, right? Because every time I dry them, every time I handle them, that's labor that costs money. And at this point, having an entire room of dried flowers, that's, you know, stuff I need to shift through and move through, it makes things difficult. Um, you know, having too many of them is a problem. So the craft fair was the real test. The craft fair was like, how much of this can we sell? How much of this is worth doing? And what I've decided is less. The answer is less. Less is more, right? And like this is a lesson that has been the lesson of, you know, this entire year. Like the whole concept going into this year was that we were doing too much, and because we were doing too much, it was making it so we didn't have any time to make money. We're spending all of our time doing, and we didn't have enough time left to sell. So next year, having done the ornaments, seen such success with the ornaments, having seen the problems of the dried flowers, the, you know, the limits of displaying them, the limits of moving them, the limits of like storing and processing them, my new plan, and this is like I said, like it's hard for me to stay focused on this because this is all just new stuff and this is coming directly out of the weekend. Oh, and I saw you guys talking about all the resin stuff, so I want to address that briefly. I know that there's a lot of resin things that I could do. And I know that, right, because I have like the silica to dry the flowers in, I could do like the really nice, beautiful, I can do the deep, all the resin work. Um, and I also I could press and then do resin to make Christmas ornaments. Um, but one of the things that I'm trying to do, and like ethics are complicated, right? That resin for me is an ethical question. Um, so obviously, like when I have like these plastic Christmas ornaments, right? Like this is a plastic ball. This like is not compostable, right? Sure, the flowers in here, like they're compostable. They're not dyed. They're fine. But when they get stuffed into this ball, they basically become garbage, right? Because no one's going to empty this ball out and reuse it at the point that they get over this ornament. Being a Christmas ornament and it being plastic and everything with the dried flowers, honestly, I feel like these are going to go like a decade or two before the flowers get faded out to the point that you don't really want this on your tree anymore. They get put away for Christmas. Like Christmas is the darkest time of the year. They get stored away in the dark. I feel like these are going to have a really good shelf life. So like I'm fairly happy with that. But so like, and like maybe I'm more concerned about resin because I have been directly affected by resin supply chain issues because irrigation pipe has been incredibly hard to source over the last 2 years because there is global resin supply issues. And I don't feel good about buying helium balloons because I don't feel good about using helium to make a balloon float because there's only so much of it and there's a lot better ways that we could be using it. And that's kind of how I feel about resin too. It's a dangerous product. It's dangerous to be working with. I'm comfortable working with dangerous products, like because like I take safety into consideration. If I did decide to become a resin worker, I'd put in the proper ventilation. I'd buy the proper gear to do it. But I love the look, right? I love the look of it, but I just don't know that I need to be doing that, right? Like, I think I can leave that to other people. The resin work that I'd want to be doing would be larger work anyways, because I want to be doing these ornament type things. I just, I think I'm not, I just don't want to go there with the resin, and it's like if I wanted to like, do a finish on something, that's one thing. I could be, investing into like some sort of varnish, right? I'd be comfortable potentially adding a Christmas ornament that is like on a piece of wood, like pressed flowers, right? And that's like one thing that Ian and I have talked about. Maybe we'll do some pressing of flowers next year. Leah really likes making the cards for the stand, so it would be nice to have flowers that she could glue onto cards. We could glue flowers onto like a wood round, and that could be a Christmas ornament. But I know there's lots of beautiful things I could do with resin. I'd prefer not to, basically. But if you're doing resin, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not simple, and it's not necessarily a good environmental choice. But what is, right? So that's my resin thing. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so the plan. less dried flowers. After 5 years of more and more and more dried flowers, the plan for next year is less dried flowers. So and the this is like part of the reason why I wanted to get that like the 10 best video out. Even though it wasn't as polished as what I normally like to polish videos to. Which is, so we went through our crops last year and we decided that there was only a few things that really made sense for us to sell. And, it was carrots, salad mix, and flowers. And then as we went into this year, we were so busy with flowers that it didn't make sense to take our attention and divert ourselves away, right? We wanted to just be straight into the flowers, give a lot of focus. It's very streamlined by doing that. Ian's saved himself like 100 hours of labor just doing farmers markets by not having to worry about veggies this year. It's just the more simple everything is, the better we can be at doing things. So with the, now that we're doing just flowers, we need to do that again, right? We need to say, okay, now we're doing just flowers, but what are the best flowers? What are the flowers that sold the best? What are the flowers that, maybe take a lot of work but don't make us a lot of money? What are the ways that we can refine what we're doing with flowers to do even better? And, specifically looking at the dried flowers, we've realized we're drying everything, but maybe we shouldn't be drying everything. And part of that is storage, right? So what I discovered making these balls is, so what I'm using to make these is statice and straw flowers. And so the statice, I am taking full stems and I'm stripping off just the buds. So the statice, when I strip them off, they actually pop off really nicely. So hanging statice as stems to dry is a great way to get the statice to the point that I can quickly process them for the balls, and then I strip the statice stems off. They're very spiky, like they have like thorns. They're like nasty. Like I need to buy like some like heavy duty gloves for doing this work, which I didn't realize because I'm so used to, you handle them. The spines are kind of like contained within the flowers. They were kind of a shock. But the one thing that I'm realizing, so as I've gone through and made these balls, I have this mountain of statice stems. I have this like pile. And there's no reason why I need to be storing like statice stems. I can be hanging them by the stem to dry. As soon as they're dry, they only take like 2 weeks to dry here for me. I can be stripping them off. And then I can be sorting them by color, right? Because so like instead of having like boxes and boxes and boxes of statice, I can have my 8 colors of statice stripped by color into a Rubbermaid tote, right? I can be like, oh, statice comes down, I strip it off into the Rubbermaid, the lid goes on, it's stored away properly, and then when I go to make Christmas ornaments, I just get a bucket, I fill my bucket with the color that I need. If I'm doing the rainbow blend, right, I go through, I'm like, okay, 1 cup of this, 1 cup of that. It's a recipe, right? The other one thing that I noticed is that people were coming up to the Christmas ornaments and they're grabbing them and smelling them. Everyone like, I was like, I don't know why you think this like plastic ball is gonna have a smell. But I understood because I'm old enough to know that they look like 80s potpourri, which made me realize maybe people want potpourri as like an item. And so if I wanted to make this into potpourri, like that's simple if I have these bins, right? I just scoop up a bin of it, scent it, right? I don't want it scented in the ball because it's not going to smell like anything and it's just going to like make the flowers go gross to cover them in oil. But if I have these bins, now I have a quick potpourri making process, like where the storage and the design of everything is really streamlined. These mixes I could also sell unscented as like a wedding confetti, right? And so instead of thinking, oh, I have to save all the dried flowers, maybe I need to be thinking about like, what are 4 ways I can sell this? um, and then the other thing about it is, so this year I really wanted to be having these available to you guys. That was one of the things that I was so excited about the Christmas ornaments from last year, because I've been looking for something that is shippable, to be able to sell to you, because like there's nothing on the farm that really is shelf stable and safe to ship, but these Christmas ornaments are, and we were just too busy to be able to get it organized on time. Um, but yeah, so but I do like I am still committed. Basically as soon as we finished the craft fair, so we made $3,000. 1,000 of it was cost. I then went and I spent all the money that I made, and I bought a million more balls. I have like I have enough. How many did I buy, Ian?
I don't know, like 2 million.
Ian said 2 million. I didn't buy 2 million. I think the number. Okay. And this is all like full. This is like creating a full system. So what I did to figure out how many of these to buy is, so next year we want to have an employee on the farm, right? But there's tons of things that we're doing that make no sense, right? Like saving every single stem, stuffing it into a box. Only I know where's what and what it is, and it's impossible to move around in a room filled to the ceiling of dried flowers, and you have to move 8 boxes out to be able to grab anything from the back. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense for just me doing it, and it definitely doesn't make sense if there's like someone else who's working with us doing it. So we want to have an employee next year, but to have an employee, things need to be more logical. Things need to be more organized. And the one thing that I would really like to do when it comes to an employee is I would like to be able to get someone who is able to stay on all year, right? Because one of the biggest costs in employees is training, right? And so if I could find someone who is flexible enough that they'd be willing to do something like ship Christmas ornaments in the off season so that they could have a full-time job instead of a seasonal job, which is what farm work is, then I would really like to try to make that happen. And so, between the farm business and the YouTube business, I feel like there is potential for us to be able to find a way to have the employee during that 4 months of the year when we don't really have any work to do. And so my thought about the Christmas ornaments is, if what the Christmas ornaments can do for me is they can cover the cost of an employee's wages for those 4 months when the farm can't cover the cost of the employee's wages, then we could like potentially keep someone on if we found someone who wants that. So that's what I did. I did the math of what it would cost, and then I figured out the cost of these ornaments, because I think so the cost on these ornaments is about $4, and that is the product inside. So the ball itself costs about 75 cents is what I've paid. And I haven't found any way to find it any cheaper. I tried to see if I could find these in wholesale, and I couldn't find them in wholesale any cheaper than buying them on sale at Michael's. And then the product inside it's about $1.75 worth of product for the cost of the flowers. And then the labor was about $2 of labor to stuff them. And then fair, the cost probably is even a little bit higher, because if we're going to package them, there'd be the cost of the boxes. And then if we're going to ship them, we'd probably have to, because I've priced them I like the $10 price. We'd probably have to then. Yeah, no, I checked Alibaba. I couldn't find them cheaper. The problem is they're so bulky. It's too expensive to ship them. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah. For shipping them, there might have to be like a shipping and handling fee, just because I'm sure the box to buy a box to ship them in would probably be about $1 to get a box that's like could go through the mail. But yeah, anyway, so I can't remember how many I bought, but I bought enough that after the cost, I would be able to cover if we sold them all, it would cover the wages for the employee for the 4 months when we wouldn't be able to, when the farm would be shut down, to potentially be able to keep an employee on over the winter. And then the idea with the Christmas ornaments is that we could do a bunch of Christmas craft fairs, and we were talking, maybe we'd be interested in, so we're in Kelowna, but 4 hours away is like the second biggest city in Canada, and maybe we could try to get into like one of the really big craft fairs down there. There's one that I saw that is 5 days. It would be expensive, right? That would be like, oh, that fee is going to be like $1,200, and then we're also going to have to like pay for a hotel. But we could also turn it into a family vacation. We could like go down and spend a week in the city, right? Because only one of us would need to like be manning the fair. And the kids, they like doing the fairs. So, it's the type of thing that could potentially become like a fun tradition. We get a handful of weekends that we kind of do these craft fairs. Maybe an employee would enjoy doing the Saturday farmers market. We could be there, and then we could be shipping. And then so I've been really resistant to do any sort of shipping for the channel, partially because we're in Canada and the costs of shipping here are very expensive. Just shipping anything is like $20. Where I know like a lot of the people who want to be buying stuff from us are in the States, and just the standard shipping fees for things down in the States are so low. Like we just don't have anything comparable here in Canada. So I've been resistant to doing it, and also it takes a lot of time, right? You need to be able to like sit down and spend a whole day shipping, right? Like to just ship one thing is going to take like 2 hours, because then you have to like go down to the post office and do this and that. And there's tools that you can purchase to streamline shipping, like things that will print out shipping labels and stuff like that. But a lot of those tools cost like hundreds of dollars, and they make sense when you're shipping hundreds of packages, but they don't make sense when you're just shipping a few things. So I've been not wanting to do that until we're to the point that we could do it properly. But, I've been looking for years to find a company that does calendars that I could make available to you guys without me having to ship them myself. And I've never been able to find a good option up here in Canada that would like ship like for you guys down in the States. But if we're doing these Christmas ornaments, now we can do a run of like Christmas like calendars that could also go out for Christmas time. We've been using the Teespring for our merchandise, which I like because it gives us the ability to offer lots of options for colors and things like that. And they have customer service if there's any sort of issues. It's easy to contact them, get everything fixed. But we could also do special runs, like things like we've talked about, like doing stickers and stuff like that. I know there's been interest in those kind of products. And anything that we can ship in an envelope is something that we can like bring those shipping costs down on. And then it brings up more options of stuff that we can do for you. So okay. I don't even think I've said the farm plan thing yet.
Well,
I know. Okay, so
Serina is timing out of mouth time.
Okay, so the farm plan for next year is that we are going to grow more of the best stuff of dried flowers, and we're gonna stop drying things just because we have it. The compost pile, like, is gonna be real sad for you guys because it's gonna be like a mountain of flowers.
Oh yeah, I want to burn it.
Well, you can't burn fresh flowers.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
I want to burn the dried stuff.
So like I was saying, like I went on like I got distracted by the status. So the status, right? We're gonna store the status stripped off the plant in this way that is gonna be easier for us to work with, more organized, less waste of stems for storing. With the straw flowers, we've been picking stems of straw flowers to hang and dry because then we have them on the stem to be able to use for in arrangements and whatever else we do with them. But the best way to process the straw flowers and the easiest way to like be managing them in the field for the most number of blooms is to go out there and just pop the flower heads off and dry them in trays. We haven't been doing that because we've been wanting the versatility of the stem attached. But if we're mainly growing straw flowers for these craft type things where they're not going to be on a stem anyways, there's no reason to do the extra work.
You could do it when they're small too, and then they produce more.
Exactly. Right? And we could have a patch where we grow them in that specific way, because then the plants will be kind of like messy and hard to pick off of for using fresh. But we could have a patch that's just for picking fresh with stems and a patch that's just for the crafting, right? I realized that for the ornaments, people want 4 colors, right? So we have, where's my flower? We have these, right? And like this is with larkspur. And I was really limited for larkspur this year because we sold so much of the fresh larkspur. Larkspur is like one of my favorite things dried, and they look incredible in here. And the other thing that I was using is this has some like wheat, and then it also has some baplurum. I like the greenery mixed in with these. But like what I need to do is I need to grow 4 colors of larkspur because people want 4 colors for the set of 4, right? So I need to be growing blue, purple, pink, and white, right? I need to be intentional in what I grow so that I have the ingredients to make the specific ornaments. And then, and then it's like they just get made. And then anytime we have time, right? Oh, it's too hot. It's like 3 o'clock on like an August day. We're like burnt out. Like, let's go hang out in the air conditioning and like stuff Christmas ornaments. These can get made at any time.
Or when you're watching shows.
Yeah, I crunched the number of hours. It's gonna take me 100 hours to stuff Christmas. The number of ornaments that I purchased, it will take me 100 hours to fill. So I'm like, perfect. Starting tomorrow, every 3rd day, I have to like stuff Christmas ornaments while watching TV.
Okay.
Right?
I'm putting you on mouth notice.
Okay, well, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. I'm just concerned.
I know, but I've been quiet, right?
Okay. I made popcorn, so maybe we'll eat my popcorn.
Sure. But yeah, so basically, we're gonna do less. We're still going. There's stuff that we grow that we're still going to grow for dried flowers to then try to sell to florists. Because our plan going into next year is that we are going to try to do wholesale. We're going to try to put together a price list. We're going to try to, the goal is if we could get 10 florists that we sell to every week, right? If we could sell $100 to 10 florists every week, we have a price list that goes out. We have fill the van with $1,000 worth of flowers, go deliver it. Like, that would be incredible. But yeah. So if we could do that, that would be great. And if we do build a roster of florist clients, we could also have on the list of things available, dried flowers that would be available, because in Kelowna this year there was already a huge demand for dried flower weddings, and it's just beginning. I imagine the trend's going to be around for a few years, and I had lots of people asking for stuff. It's just I haven't my stuff is so unorganized that like I don't even know how to get around to selling it to people. It needs to be organized enough to streamline selling it. Yeah. So, really excited about everything that we learned from the craft fair. Um, because for me, the thing that we learned the most is that we need to be more organized and more intentional in this part of the business, or this part of the business can't just be its own separate thing. It has to be organized into the entire fabric of the system to work the best. And if we can get that math like narrowed in next year, then it's something that, we can build on with success for the years to come, because, next year's year 5, and, everything, it all needs to be hitting benchmarks of success if it's going to keep happening, right? If it can't keep not working, it has to eventually work, or else eventually we have to stop doing. If we can't keep, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results, right? So we can't be crazy people. Okay, so Ian is right. I am timing out, but I do want. Do I have an updated Christmas list? Amazon wish list. I haven't. I haven't looked at that in forever, but I think there is still stuff on it. I think back, it's mostly like farm stuff, right? Because it is what it is. But I think there was like a few books. I think there was a few things that, because people back in the summer had asked for stuff about like the kids or something. So I think there was like a few children's books on there, if that's like the type of thing. We need to like make like a storefront though. I think like Amazon, like they it changed. It changed a couple years ago, and I haven't really done a refresh on it. We have a bunch. One of our big things we need to do this winter is we have like tons of like office work, I'm calling it. Like we need to like get Red Roof Family Farm website built. Like that's like where we be able to list our wholesale flower list. We need, Red Roof Family Farm to have like special orders for bouquets. And then, we need to decide if Red Roof Family Farm is where we would be offering the Christmas ornaments through. Like, so do we want to build that so that it could be like a shipping portal website, or do we want to build up youcan'teatthegrass.com to be kind of more of a shipping portal website? It's stuff that we've been putting off because we're even though we make YouTube videos, we're not the most tech savvy people, and we really struggle with that kind of stuff. So like there's a bunch of like cleanup that needs to get done over the next couple months, that I'll get working on. I know I've had a few people reach out to me about the Teespring, and like I think a few of the styles have disappeared off of there because it keeps getting messed up too. But it's on the I apologize, guys. I know things have been so crazy this year that a lot of stuff kind of got lost in the mix. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, we can quickly go over them. I know that you guys have kind of were talking a bunch about the shipping thing. I know the the shipping. It's a problem. I know enough about small businesses to know that I don't want to know lots about shipping because it's definitely a difficult one. And so just because there's no questions coming up yet. I know that like the month is disappearing and it's Christmas. Oh, tulips. Yeah, that's a question I should have answered. Jaded Optimist, you've been asking me about them from the very beginning. So, no. You guys are probably think we're crazy, but no, the tulips aren't planted yet. But that's okay because that is still the schedule. We thought so I got the mouth surgery done, and we thought there was going to be like lots of like swelling and pain in my face from it. So the plan was to hold off on the planting of the tulips. Everything's prepped. We just need to like put the compost and the tulips in, and so we are holding off until like this week. Basically, like this week is when we're doing it. And the reason why we kind of gave this as the window is we wanted to make sure that like I didn't have the swelling in my face, because doing the tulips is going to involve me like head bent over, and so we we just planned it. But yeah, so Ian is Ian has like the boxes done. Basically, it's warmed up a bit here. We don't know if our compost, so it doesn't, so for the tulips it doesn't matter if the ground is frozen, which is the reason why like I'm not like, oh my god, we still haven't done it yet, because the tulips are being planted in raised beds, and so the raised beds are built. We just have to put the mesh on and then flip them over and then put 2 inches of compost in the bottom and then lay the tulip bulbs in. Ian is really good at humping around compost. He's really good at carrying heavy things. And I'm very good at being bent over, crawling around on the ground. But we're not good at each other's jobs. So we were waiting until I was kind of like 1 week past on my mouth surgery so that I could be putting the bulbs into the box while he's coming along behind me, putting in the dirt, filling the boxes. And the tulip bulbs there, it's been so cold that the tulip bulbs are they're in the garage, but it's been so cold that they're basically being stored at fridge temperatures. So because so the one thing that is complicated about tulips, which isn't complicated for us here because we have a cold enough season, is tulips need a certain number of weeks of chill hours, which is like they need to live in the fridge or else they won't have a flower. And we are bad. It's late enough that it's like, oh my god, it's getting late, but they basically have had a month of chill hours just by living in our garage. It's kind of been like 1 or 2 degrees in there. So so they're gonna be fine for that. So we, it's kind of whenever they get in, and then the plan is that it really is probably only going to take us 2 days to do it, like kind of like, and not even like crazy days, like be 2 6-hour days type thing to get it all completely done. But we might need to buy another load of compost because we got a 24-yard delivery of compost in, but it was warm, so it hadn't frozen, but we haven't checked it in like a week and a half. We haven't checked it since the craft fair, so there's a chance it could have like cooled and frozen now, and if it's frozen, then we'll use it for next year. It's it's compost, it doesn't go bad, and we can get a fresh delivery of compost in, and then a fresh delivery of compost will be warm and it'll be easy to move and easy to haul around. So yeah, we're not too worried. And then the one thing that was like, oh my god, like, can we get it in time, was the peonies and the daffodils, but those we got completely done before the craft fair. We've just been really busy, so we haven't released the video about that, but we have an entire vlog that we filmed about going over the course of a couple of weeks of us like trying to figure out how to do it. And the plan is that this week in between, getting everything going for the tulips. Ian's going to be working on
Mommy?
editing up that.
You.
Are you watching me?
No, you. Pull your ears.
Oh, yeah.
No, pull your ears.
No.
Ears.
My child is very busy with it. Is he watching?
I want
No.
No.
Please heal it.
No.
Please just heal it,
Sometimes-
Mommy.
no, Sam.
Hey,
No.
Liz, we're up.
You want to heal it?
Oh, I know what it sounds like.
Okay, so guys, can you get out of here, please?
Let
Okay.
me show you.
Yeah. So we have
Go back
we
to
have that
Yeah.
vlog. We have that vlog coming, and then this week I'm also working on the video of like the 10 worst flowers of the season. So that also that's gonna be coming. Okay, and then I'll answer if I'm gonna put glitter in stuff. And the answer is no,
Not allowed.
because I hate glitter. And so the one thing about the ornaments, right? Like I get it, right? It there's someone at the farmer's market who sells the dried flowers that are spray painted in like pretty pastel colors. And we're not going to do that because when you paint flowers, they turn into garbage. And it's the same with glitter, right? You put glitter on flowers and then they become garbage because they're covered in garbage. So like we specifically don't do that because we want our product to be compostable. As I said, these obviously are not really compostable because no one's going to pick out the dried flowers and reuse the ball. But I want to keep the look consistent. I want them, because I want the branding to be about the fact that we have a local flower farm, right? And when we do these craft fairs, the plan is that we build in our roadside stand, we have like the dried flower installation, and the plan for the craft fair is that we would build like an installation piece that would like hang up above, and so that we do it again.
Hello, I'm
we
running
would-
away from this.
and we do like the marketing around the fact like we have a farm and we grow naturally and all this. So we want to keep the look on brand with that. But one thing that I could potentially offer is like a ribbon. We could because I was selling them like this because I don't hang them on my tree with a ribbon. I use like a wire. I don't know if anyone actually does use a ribbon. I don't know how you would you take it and you tie it to the tree. I don't actually understand. But I'm also not a ribbon person, so there's probably a very simple answer, and it's that it looks pretty. But yeah, we could potentially tie a little sparkly bow onto the top or something. But I do I'm a simple girl who likes simple things, so the Christmas ornaments definitely no glitter inside, but maybe some ribbon. Yeah. See, I'm not the only one who does the wires. And I know at the craft fair I had people asking. I didn't all my Christmas stuff was packed away. We just unpacked our Christmas stuff today. So the for the wires to hang them on my pretend tree for my display at the craft fair, I had florist wire, and I just kind of use that to make a hook, and people are like, oh, can I steal some of this wire? And I was like, oh yeah, these people, they're like me. Okay, guys, I'm I was supposed to only go for an hour, and I went too long. But I know a vlog would have been more fun for the craft fair, but I hope that kind of shares the important lessons. I know very few of you who watch these videos are doing businesses the same, are oh, that's all your business tips, Serina, are helpful. But I feel the reason why we do things is like why we do things the way we do it. You know, and I understand that like a lot of the decisions that we make sometimes are confusing, right? Like why would we grow less dried flowers, right? Or like why would we compost flowers when we could dry them? You know, and so, you know, I like these types of videos because it's a chance to tell the more detailed, more complicated story. Whereas like the vlogs, we can only, you know, really go into like the surface. Um, you know, because it's one of those things you don't think about until you have to think about it, right? Like it's great to dried flowers, but what do you do when you have an entire room of dried flowers? Okay, I'm getting cold though. Okay, thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I'm gonna get a members live. Yeah, well, we did send the flowers down to the food bank, the ones that didn't dry. But we were busy. We were so busy we didn't get down to the food bank as much this year either. Okay, I'm going to get a thing because I know that like Christmas is coming. Like the days, they're disappearing. I can't believe it's almost Christmas. And I need to schedule a December members live. So I'm gonna get on top of that because I don't I don't want it to be like, you know, me being like, hey guys, how do you feel about Boxing Day for a members live? But yeah. And then like we're hopefully gonna be getting some more videos going out. I know that the channel's been pretty slow, just as we've had a bunch of this kind of last minute stuff booked up. But yeah, hopefully we'll get back on track with the regular videos again. Okay, thanks so much, guys. See ya.